Thank you, Corey. Hey, I think it's girl, boy, girl, boy, girl.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wow, we're ready. Okay, I would like to call the Plan Commission meeting to order. Roll call, please, Terry.
Mayor Kudowski,
Here.
Kim Bukowski.
Here.
Allison Williams.
Present.
Corey Campbell.
Here.
Gary Paul. Skippington and Allen are excused.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please remember our men and women throughout the world. Okay. I have no changes to the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion, all against? Motion carried. Okay. The minutes from the regular Plan Commission meeting of May 1, 2018.
May
Move to
Mary
approve
and
the,
Gary are the only ones that can approve.
Oh,
Yeah, I was not there.
okay.
move to approve.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Comments from the public must be limited to items not on the agenda. Since the young man out there is for something that's on the agenda.
You're it.
I will move on. Okay. 7A, action items. Action regarding ordinance 06-2-18, amending a planned unit development overlay zoning for certain land located at Element Way, Village Center LLC, and Sketchworks Architecture LLC.
I don't mean to interrupt. Are you here on a specific item, sir?
This one.
Oh, this one, okay,
Yes.
all right.
The PUD amendment is brought forth rather than just a typical site plan because the building number 2, which is proposed for review tonight for the Element Apartments, was changed from a 68-unit 5-story building to a 4-story 71-unit building. And as you can see on the site plan on the screen right there, this is for the northern building. Initially, the PUD was approved to have basically a mirror image of Building 1. You can see now with Building 2, it extends further to the east. That's to accommodate the additional units for the 4-story building. The reason it became a 4-story building instead of the typical 5-story building as was approved was because of some issues that we had to deal with on Building number 1 in terms of the parking structure. It's underneath the off-site parking, or surface parking, immediately to the, I guess, to be to the northeast of Building number 1. The underground parking actually extends underneath the surface parking for Building number 1 and Building number 2. As a result of that, there had to be some additional structural improvements to support public safety trucks, any other heavy moving trucks that may park in that area. In order to accommodate those additional costs, the developer found a way to, I guess, cut down on some of those costs on Building number 2 by creating that 4-story building with 71 units instead of the 5-story building. The area that was extended to the east, Building number 2 initially with the PUD did have a kind of a gathering green space area for the residents. That area has now been moved to the future development of Building number 3 and 4 along the path that's going to connect this development to the Bohemian Park. So there, at this point, there are some conceptual designs for similar type uses, park shelter, grilling areas, picnic tables, things like that. So those are the major changes from the initial PUD as approved and the proposed PUD amendment. The architect for the project is in the audience if you have any questions specific to Mr. Badura. One thing I should note is that the architecture, the outside exterior of the buildings are similar. They're not exactly the same, which I think is probably a good thing. They're not exactly the same, not mirror images, but they are complementary to each other, and there are renderings, which I believe Terry's getting to right now. So as I mentioned, Mr. Badura is here from Sketchworks Architecture, and I'd also be happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding the PUD amendment.
So Building 2 will have underground parking as well as Building 1?
Yes, it will.
So you've gone down 1 floor, but increased the number of units by 3.
That's correct.
And that accounts for an increase in the footprint a little bit.
Yep, exactly.
Where's this Bohemian Park you mentioned? What is that all about?
That's the apartment complex on the corner of Morris and Holmgren that's being constructed right now.
Oh,
There's actually a pathway that connects these two different complexes.
Bohemian Park. I never
Yeah.
heard that before.
Yep, that's the Wilwerka group.
United
Did you sneak
Development.
that in like you did the Ashwaubenon logo or what?
No, you actually had a question about it, Ken.
Oh.
You approved
Kitty
it.
corner.
I'd like to see that in writing.
Got
Oh
it
my
on
God.
tape.
But
And
anyway,
this-
I'm only teasing. you
This
know.
ordinance did pass site plan earlier today.
Yeah, we had a
also.
3 o'clock site plan meeting, we went through this, and
Yeah,
it looks, they're headed in the right direction. I'd like to see it get it out of the hole and up and running.
Now, is that being constructed along with number one at this time, or is that coming a little later?
Building number 1 is being constructed right
Right.
now, and the goal would be to start, I guess, digging the hole for building number 2 as soon as possible.
Oh, okay, all right. All right. And you're okay with that?
Yes.
I mean, you're okay with this?
Yes, yep.
Todd?
No other questions, I'll recommend to approve to the village board with ordinance 06-2-18.
Second.
Would that also be with staff conditions of the landscape? There's landscaping along the transformer we discussed at site plan, and also the coordination with Public Works on the different utilities.
You bet. Right,
okay.
Gary?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
All right, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to recommend approval of ordinance 06-2-18 with staff recommendations.
Just, are you okay now
Any
with this is
questions?
good now? You don't have any issues? Okay.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Where are you from? Middleton, okay.
Okay, 7B, action on a proposed certified survey map for property located along Grant Street and Sand Acres Drive.
The property on the corner would be the northwest corner of Sand Acres and Grant Street. It's a large, probably a parcel that's close to 17 acres. The current owner is proposing to have a 3-lot CSM to divide that, of course, into 3 lots. There'll be one single-family lot. I'd like to maybe backtrack here. The whole property right now is zoned single-family, 1R. As you can see by what's up on the screen, along Sand Acres, the northerly parcel, there'll be a Lot 1 created, which would be intended for a single-family lot continuation of what's currently on Sand Acres. Lot 2 is the existing structures, would be the home, shed, and a barn on the corner. That would remain. So that'd be created as Lot 2. Lot 3 is set aside as a 14-acre, a little about 14 and a half acres for potential development. At this time, they're just looking to split off the 2 so that they do have a buyer for the lots in the home on the corner. So they'd like to split that off in order to facilitate that sale. Again, the Lot 3 probably will be coming through in the near future or in the future in regards to potential development there. Nothing is really in the works as of yet. They've been working with some surveyors and trying to get what best works on that site because there is a floodway that goes through there, that goes through the golf course as well. So any approval on it tonight would be contingent upon payment of a $648.57 park fee, as well as any new utility extensions or laterals that would be required to serve proposed Lot 3 would need to be installed at property owners or developers' expense.
Okay, and the developers know that these are 2 of the conditions?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Todd, quick question. Going down the road, didn't we have some problems with getting laterals and sewer or whatever in there? Is that going to affect this property?
It will affect it to some extent. This case, it'd probably be coming off of Sand Acres. The part I think that was more of a concern was the property more centralized in the block. There's really no way getting to it because you couldn't go through you almost have to go through the golf course because you have to come in from 3 sides. And this one here would be able to come right down Grant Street, right off of Sand Acres, but it would be extensions that would be needed for that.
Okay.
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 Any more questions?
I'll move to approve the, let me get to the item here. 7, the certified survey map as presented in item 7, what is it? B? 7B. The certified survey map, I'm sorry, the certified survey map for the property located along Grant Street and Sand Acres Drive.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second to recommend approval of the certified survey map.
Mary, would that be with the two conditions of the park fee? and
With the conditions attached as mentioned by the building inspector. Zoning administrator, what are you these days?
Zoning administrator and building inspector.
All right, that's
Got it
good.
covered.
All right.
Okay, and,
That's fine.
okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second to recommend approval of the certified survey map with the conditions mentioned by the zoning administrator with the property located along Grant and Sand Acres Drive. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 7C, action on a proposed certified survey map for property located along Babcock Road and North Road. Todd?
This is the parcel on the northeast corner of the intersection there of Highway 172, Babcock Road and North Road. Currently is the Oneidas have a facility there for training facility. What they're looking at doing is creating a 2-lot CSM, a smaller one on the corner of 172. The current zoning of that property is B2. They may be looking at rezoning that in the future, but as of right now, it's still B2. The proposed CSM does meet the size requirements as far as lot size and setbacks. Maybe not setbacks. The lot sizes and acreage. One of the conditions would be, since there's an existing facility on there, that building would have to be raised from the site because it would be actually built over the property line, and that is prohibited by local and state codes. You cannot build a building over a property line without a firewall. In this case, there's no firewall, so the building that's there would have to be raised from the site. Along with that condition, a part of the approval, the condition would also be a payment of the $3,284.86 park fee, as well as also any utility laterals that need to be installed to serve the new additional lot would be installed at the property owner or developer's expense. So this case would have the 3 conditions, and the big one would be the raising of the existing building to meet the setbacks.
I have one clarification here, Todd. On the front green sheet, it says the payment for the park fee is $3,284, and on the certified survey map checklist, it says $3,482.86.
Thanks for catching that. Actually, it should be the $3,482.86.
Okay.
Todd, something else, $3,284 versus the one we just approved for $648 of a park fee. How come, where are we finding the difference here?
That is based off of the assessor assigns that. It's based on the value of the property and potential development. That's why if it's a residential one, you're gonna have a less value to it than you would in normal cases than you would on a commercial one. So there's a formula that Mr. Diener must assess to the property based on the property location and the value of the property.
Okay, all right, well, that makes sense.
Do you have any idea what that's a nice building that's there. I mean, it's been there for a long time. Do you have any idea what their intents are? And if it's confidential, that's fine. Don't worry about it. But
Nothing's been submitted to the village formally. At this point, they are looking at a potential development on that site, probably more along the line of a restaurant type situation.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Your turn, Gary.
Do we have to approve this?
Yeah, well,
Oh, move to approve, excuse me, Ken. Move to approve CMS Babcock and North Road.
yeah, okay, second is right here by Cory.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Does the motion and the second include the 2 conditions that they talked about?
Actually, it would be a 3, so I apologize, because I forgot to list the one on there
With the
about
change on the park fee.
Yep. The park fee would be the $3,482.86.
Yeah.
Then also the, any cost with the laterals would be at the owner's expense.
Right.
And the third one would be conditioned upon the existing building being raised.
Okay.
Okay, with those changes, yep.
Okay, everybody's okay with that?
Okay,
Yes.
that's good. Todd, that is just changing the CMS. It's nothing to do with demolition or nothing right now. That'll come next.
That is correct. The only thing is the CSM could not be signed by the village until the building is raised, basically.
Until it's raised, okay.
Yeah, because otherwise it won't have the proper setbacks.
Okay.
Okay, does everybody understand the motion and the second?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of this certified survey map, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 7D, action on a request by Robert Jones for a conditional use permit to operate automobile sales facility located at 2805 Ramada Way Automobile Sales.
Well, here we go with another
Pat?
used car sales.
Yep. And I apologize, Robert Jones got carried over. That was an error on my part. Should actually be from,
JD by Ryder?
yes, JB
Okay.
by Ryder. It's actually, a property owner is Saturn of Green Bay Incorporated. But basically what it is, at 2805 Ramada Way, is basically a vacant lot right now. It used to be the Saturn used car dealership back in the day. Bergstrom did take it over when they had the Cadillac sales there. They were using it but it was a continuation of that at that time. Now that it's been vacant for over a year, they have to come through in order to use it as the automobile dealership. The request before us today is JB by Ryder and Russ Darrow share the facility at 2800, which is on the other side of Ramada, backed up to the highway. They are looking for additional room, so JB by Ryder would move in their facility across the street to 2805, and Russ Darrow would maintain the site at 2800. So it was a car dealership. There's a small building on the site right now. Then they would continue using that small building and have vehicles out there for sale.
Looks like a pretty narrow lot, probably not usable for a whole lot other than something like this, huh?
That is correct. And there's established hotels on both sides right now.
Did they get notice of this request by any chance? The hotels?
Yes, because it's a conditional use, it does require a public hearing. So property owners would be notified
Okay.
by mail.
All right, thank you.
Wasn't there something automotive in there all the time?
Yes.
Saturn was in there. huh?
Yeah, it always has been automotive, but just because it's been vacant for over a year, it has to come through for a conditional use.
You're talking about the one on the east side of the road?
That is correct.
Okay, oh, okay. I don't remember Saturday.
I'll make a motion to recommend to the village board approval of the request by Robert Jones for a conditional use permit to operate an automobile sales facility located at 2805 Ramada Way Automobile Sales.
Okay, it would be JD by Ryder, not Robert Jones, Ken. I'm sorry.
Well, it was, oh, really?
Yes.
Oh,
that-
okay.
That was a misprint.
All right, should be by J.D. Bywriter then.
Yep.
That would be fine. And are there any conditions here? No, or we have to worry about?
No, they
Okay.
actually have, we looked at a number of things. They have concrete pads in the front for display of vehicles, and everything else is basically just a big parking lot, so
Okay.
no additional conditions.
All right.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to recommend approval of a request by JD by Ryder for a conditional use permit to operate automobile sales at 2805 Ramada Way. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 7E, action on a request for exterior building alterations located at 780 Armed Forces Drive.
This one also went through site plan at the 3 o'clock meeting today. Best Western, the Midway, also known as the Midway at 780 Armed Forces, is going through kind of a little bit of an upgrade on the exterior of the building. As you can see by the attached, or what's on the screen right now, the front canopy will be redone. It'll be EFIS material constructed with a little more of a flat ceiling inside of it. As far as the additional, if you could scroll down a little bit, Terry, on the sides of the building where they have their main entranceways into the different portions of the hotel. Actually, one more screen if you could. Basically, what they're looking at doing is kind of highlighting what's kind of a sunken entryway. They're going to kind of highlight it with a little more massing of the front. See more of a little parapet wall, bigger facade with a little canopy over the top to kind of protect it from the elements. Again, those would be EFIS. Then they will actually go through and repaint the existing facility to more of a grayish color, lighter gray and a darker gray. Then probably the more notable change on the back of the building, which would be the east side, the north side of the building. There's currently an exterior stairway that will actually be screened by they'll construct a wall there to help screen that a little bit, plus keep the elements off. It does kind of, I guess in a roundabout way, spruce that up a little bit because you don't see the metal stairway. One of the things from site plan today was a condition that the landscaping that's shown on the picture to be installed as much as possible. Public safety does have to look at it to make sure that they have adequate access between the Best Western and the Arena Hotel, that is considered a fire lane to get back there to the back portion of the building. So they have to make sure that they have enough clearance there. If there's enough for the 24-foot fire lane, then the landscaping, as you see there, will be installed. Otherwise, it may have to be tweaked a little bit. The only other thing that they're doing there is some enhancing some fencing, kind of upgrading as much as possible. The site plan did approve it with that condition on it, as well as the reason why it's coming before the Plan Commission tonight is it's in the Sports and Entertainment District, and any development within there or remodeling needs to come through Plan Commission and Village Board for final approval.
Sure looks like an improvement, doesn't it?
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I hope
Definitely.
it goes the way the pictures
looks.
indicate.
much more.
That's been there a long time, that facility. It's hard getting away from calling it the Midway, though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Todd, what did Joe say about them two signs hanging off the present one? Were they gonna be discarded?
For what the representative that was present at the site plan meeting, currently what Gary is talking about, on the front canopy, there are two signs that hang down off the existing canopy. I think one says the district, and I think the other one says something about the banquet or convention. I think it's banquet facilities. They're not shown in this picture, so they will be removed from the site. The only thing that's going to be up there will be the signage, as you see, as a Best Western and the logo. So the two
Okay.
existing signs will be removed.
They will, okay. I didn't hear that answer at site plan. All right, if there's no other questions, it's gone through site plan at 3 o'clock. We did approve it, as Mary said, or Todd said. So I will recommend approval with the facelift at Best Western on Armed Force Drive and Holbrook Way.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the request, recommend approval of the request for the building alterations at 780 Armed Forces Drive with the conditions that Todd listed. Especially that wall on the north side with some plantings in it, if it's okayed by public safety.
Correct.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. 7F, discussion and action regarding ordinance 06-1-18, repealing and replacing section 17-2-200, site plan approval requirements, and repealing section 17-6-700, policy for site plan review committee, chapter 17, planning and zoning code of the Village of Ashwaubenon Municipal Code. Aaron?
Mary, don't you have that memorized already?
Sure.
It is quite a mouthful. And I guess the reason for the mouthful kind of takes me to the rationale for why we undertook this revision to the village's site plan ordinance. When I first started here, almost a year ago now, I started reviewing the ordinances, and one of the issues I found with the site plan requirements was that they were scattered around 3 or 4 different areas within the village's code book. And I had a hard time finding them all and a hard time understanding where they were and what they're trying to get at. So I thought if I had a hard time finding out where everything was, I could imagine a developer or a resident or someone who's interested in policies for the village would also have a hard time figuring it out. What I did was I took the disparate parts of the ordinance and combined them into basically one section so that when a developer is interested in something in the Village of Ashwaubenon, we can provide him or her with a full, complete site plan ordinance in one readable document. So along with the kind of the organizational aspect of it, we did update the quite a few items in there as identified in packet page 97, 98, and 99 with different issues that were discussed kind of quite a bit at site plan committee over the few, I guess the first few months I was here and then since then. So the site plan committee did review this a couple times. Latest of which was just this afternoon at 3 o'clock, where they did recommend approval to the Plan Commission and Village Board.
Did you quiz the site plan committee to make sure they knew where everything was? Or was it
They specifically asked for the.
Did Gary pass?
Gary certainly passed.
All right.
Yeah, the bullet points, I think, were a good recommendation or request of the site plan committee. They said, can we get a summary of this that really hits the high points, what we're trying to accomplish with this? So I put that together, and I think it was a good addition to it.
It's great.
I
Thank
know
you.
I go to quite a few
A
of
lot
those
of work.
meetings, and I know the site plan committee's been looking for this for a while, and I'm glad it's done. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's really great to have it all in one.
Thank you.
A lot of work.
Can make a motion for that.
Motion to approve the ordinance repealing and recreating section 17-200. Second.
We have a motion and a second to recommend approval of ordinance 06-1-18. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 8, items for next agenda. If you have any, call the staff. They'd be happy to get them on the agenda. Number 9, our next Plan Commission meeting is Tuesday, July 3rd. Will people be available since that is the day before the 4th of July?
I'll be here.
I'll be absent.
One quick item, we are going to hold a special plan commission meeting on,
June?
that was the 26th,
26th.
June 26th, before village board meeting, to address one issue that kind of came up that we would have had to address on July 3rd at plan commission, and then the July village board meeting.
Okay.
We were able to push that up and deal with it as a special meeting. We'll address it at that time.
Okay, so we might not, you're saying is we may not even have a Plan Commission meeting on Tuesday, July 3rd?
That's correct.
Okay,
Stay tuned.
Okay.
Stay tuned, yeah, unless something
Okay.
comes up, yeah.
Hear that?
okay, that problem is solved. Okay, I then need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?